different positioning of the objects. So we can control the number of solutions. We can control the random of the method we are using. A lot of considerations here that can give a much more outputs based on the inputs we are given. So we put more inputs, of course, we get more outputs. Don't forget, all this is pushed by Dynamo. So we also can go directly on the Dynamo tools to improve this work. So it's possible to work. What we are seeing here is more an interface, touching the data that has been the scripts that are created in Dynamo. And we can see here the different combinations and until we arrive to the expected results we want in the end. We can save folders for different studies. So we can create folders where we're going to store the different studies we are creating. And in Dynamo, we have create new generative design tools with more nodes and more features that can improve our job here. So like a dialog box with new messages that qualify better what we are doing, and some new nodes for different purposes. So as we see here, we are playing with different results to be able to see it here. So let's go further. So in 2022, we have increased new sample studies, more options like save default settings, new drop-down inputs, new variables, constant and variable inputs, and manage study types by folder so we can store in folders. Also new nodes on generative design panel in Dynamo. We had a new alert tool to give us more feedback about the issues and to resolve issues with the missing packaging or missing dependencies. In 2022.1, we had to make a step forward. We had a new feature called export outcomes. So export outcomes allow me to do the analysis and send these outcomes to one of my colleagues that he doesn't need to run the analysis again, but he gets all the results that I've combined. So I can do my study, combine my outcomes, and then share with someone in my team that's going to use the results that I've established. So someone could be doing the analysis, and someone else can reuse it later that we can change.
Excuse me, Fernando,
yes.
I'm going to break in for just a moment.
Yes, please.
You're having some screen issues, and I was thinking if you can switch your display, because we're missing and getting a lot of flickering at the top of your screen, and it's cutting off the top of your slide. Switch the presenter view to your other monitor and share the other monitor.
Give me 1 second, please. Okay, this is tree applied.
Recording stopped.
Okay.
Great. And that is a quiz for you. What mountain is that that we're seeing? So Fernando's going to do a quick switch of the screen, yes, and hopefully we'll get that flickering stopped.
Let me do this. Takes a little to rearrange all this part.
All right. We have the correct answer for the mountain. We have two great answers. Desmond, it doesn't count from you because you know what the mountains are. So if you guessed that the mountain was the Matterhorn, you are correct.
There's also a question in the chat. Is there any generative design tool for pipework?
Yeah, generative design for pipework. Oh, that's a great one.
Not yet, not yet. Okay, I changed the screen, but no, I missed the zoom command to be able to do the presentation.
To share that other screen. Yeah.
Yes, it's hidden somewhere else. Let me close everything, I don't need it. Where is the...
And why Fernando is reconfiguring. Thank you for answering the poll question about the different versions of Revit. As you know, that Revit is very version specific. And as you start to get into collaborative workflows, it's even more important that you stay in version compatible Revit. So a lot of times our Revit projects last multiple years. So if there's a good reason that you might be still using Revit 2019 when everybody else is using Revit 2021.
So do you know the shortcut to share the screen? Because I think I cannot share my screen anymore.
It should be at the green button at the bottom.
Yeah, but I don't see the problem is that switching the screen mess up with my share.
With the Zoom interface?
Yes. Why someone get it? Oh, gosh.
Okay, while Fernando is, and Fernando might have to exit the meeting and come back in. And I will be happy to take some questions. And again, sorry for this little brief pause, but the flickering, as some of you noted, was a little bit
Working
difficult.
better now?
Well, that looks
Yeah,
a lot
we can
better.
see it now.
Yep.
Okay, good. I don't know if there is a window here in the corner because something is wrong here. You guys kill me with all these changes.
Sorry about that, but the flickering was a little bothersome.
Okay, I get you. Okay, let me try to.
Now we're looking, is that your desktop connector transferring files? Aha. We can tell that you're busy working.
Okay. I think there's going to be always a stupid window there. Okay. There is still a blue box on the corner. I cannot make it disappear. Sorry.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, it doesn't get nothing special.
Exactly, it's better than the flickering.
Yes. So I was talking about
Recording in
design.
progress.
Yes, there was some great updates. We have incorporated a way to share our job. So I'm developing a lot of analysis, and then I can send results to someone that's going to process it in a more advanced way. Let's talk a little about the features. In this case, we're going to talk about Format. So Format has been improved as an external tool, and it was able to bring a big capacity of conceptual design, where we work with different shapes, we work with different materials, and we have improved the way we can bring not only the shapes, but also the materials to our Revit environment. So now we are able to incorporate any design, importing it from Format, whatever is the conceptual shape, and bringing materials with it, and then if needed, reutilize these materials inside our Revit session. So this was a great improvement that we have made, I think, in 2021. And now we're going to see what we are doing more. So we start in 2021 to bring Format geometry, select the different geometry and even the facades and with the curved geometries and so on, bring the materials from Format and map it correctly in Revit and assign them to use in Revit, whatever are. Now we are doing a little more. We are doing 3D Sketch. So 3D Sketch can allow us to translate our geometries and send it back to Format. So we can incorporate in Format objects that are designed inside Revit. Also exporting materials. So we start to communicate both ways, from Format to Revit, from Revit to Format. So big improvements we are doing here. Also, there is an option to import Format as a CAD format. So if I don't want to incorporate it, but to edit it, but I want to incorporate it only as a CAD file, yes, I can do it. And it's faster than the 3D Sketch way. So it's more like XREF. Latest feature for Format in 2022.1, it's the possibility to see in Format the levels we had in Revit and also export additional geometry as a background context. So if I had, for instance, a mask to represent other buildings, I can bring them to form it from my Revit session. So good connection here between the multiple tools in terms of backward and forward. Another great one, link Rhino files. So since 2022, it's much easier to directly link Rhino files inside our Revit project. Using the link add file, now we recognize the 3DM file format, and we can see the layers and preserve the properties through the visibility graphics override. We can even snap to the linked geometry in our project views. So it's going to be an effective object that we're going to bring to Revit and we can reuse to incorporate in our project. Additional to this, also a lot of improvements in the last version since 2020 to be able to work with the SketchUp files 2018, 2019, 2020. Most important part, performance we are improving, and colors. So we are bringing the same colors from objects, not always the same materials because they are the different ways of creating materials, but at least the colors are aligned between what is in SketchUp and what we see in Revit. And since 2022, we are also supporting SketchUp more advanced. Also a good improvement was in 2021, work with STL. STL in the past was a plugin, now it's embedded. And STL is the file format we can use, for instance, to 3D printing our project. So I can generate my models, save it in STL, and send to a 3D printing technology solution. So it's a great tool that brings the possibility to very easily create STL file formats. Improving, we are also able to import now STLs and import and export OBJ. So this is reaching, expanding the way we can work with other technologies, mostly 3D printing, but not only, and other technologies that can consume OBJ files. So I think this is very important for people working with other technologies and they want to communicate better and interact better with other technologies. Last but not least, in terms of import and link CAD formats, now when we import a model, a CAD model, we can choose the level where we're going to position. So in the past, usually you're going to go on level 0, and then we need to copy it or move it, but now we can choose the place of the level when we are importing a 3D CAD file. Also more, as we are working more with Rhinos files, we also have more ability to import SIT files. So these bring more quality of the data we are importing, especially about equipments that are done with the manufacturing tools. Okay, all geometry can be imported no matter the size, and this is great for complex geometries and assemblies. 2022.1 expand the versions of Rhino files, of SketchUp files, so we also can recognize now sub-D shapes from Rhino, and we can link conceptual Rhino and SketchUp models much easier. The same with Inventor, we are improving the way we work in the Inventor tools. So now we can see inside our models parts of objects created in Inventor. We start to be able to export our model to an Inventor. But now we also going to be able to receive the data from Inventor and send it back to Revit. So I'm going to show this is an Inventor setup where people are working and the same objects can appear inside Revit. So let's go. So we have started in 2021 to be able to link Revit 3D data inside the Inventor assemblies with the AnyCAD interface tool. This was helpful to bring, I'd say, the shape of what we want to achieve, and then inside the Inventor develop the equipments or the assemblies of the objects that we want to fabricate. Now in 2022, we are able also to link in Revit the Inventor assemblies as Revit models. So that way we had a reference, a geometry that can be measured, that can be tagged, and that we can bring from Inventor inside Revit interface. More improvements on IFC. So in 2022, we have achieved IFC 4 certifications. So it means that all our IFC export now can be using the IFC4 schema. I think this is very useful for everybody. In 2022.1, that was delivered last week, we have improved even more with the new Open Design Alliance IFC toolkit. So now we had a better tool when we work with IFCs, especially improving performance with complex geometries. I don't say that this is going to fix all the problems that sometimes we had, but these at least improve our work with IFC technology. So next tools that were developed in the last years was the path of travel, the route analysis. So this tool allows us to design a path of travel inside our rooms. So the system recognized obstacles like doors, recognized like walls, recognized openings like the doors, and this allows to say I want to go from point A to point B. During last years, we have been improving, so bringing more features and improve the way this tool works. Initially, it was a little simple. I can select like 2 points and design, and the system create a path between these 2 points, understanding the obstacles. So now we had to create more detailed solutions, like we had a tool to review what is considered an obstacle. We had a tool to define room-to-room parameters. We had dynamo nodes that now can recognize information like the levels, the start pointing list, the end pointing list, and others. So this can also give us more reporting information. So we're going to see that in 2021.1, we even create new nodes that were able to improve the process. So not only point to point, but when we design the path of travel, of course, usually we start between 2 points, like a room and a exit. But now we can also edit this path and bring it and join more information. So the path of travel is an object that we can extract properties, and now we can create additional points. So like here, we create a point and the system going to calculate. And then when we're going to grab the properties of the path of travel, we're going to see that we had more information. Also, all these runs in Dynamo. That's why we are exposing the Dynamo nodes, so people can develop their routines with more features. So there are ways to define longest to shortest, insert waypoints, remove waypoints, get waypoints, things like that. So I can establish these are exit doors, these are middle point, and the system can design his own travel path. Okay, so I think this is bringing more and more features on these when we work with these kind of studies. So again, 2021.1, more nodes, more properties. 2022, we have created new ways to visualize multiple ways, so we can choose different ways to go. So we can do analysis, we can see people content, we can see special grids, so we can generate more features to make more aligned resolutions. Okay, so we can even create more elements, we can build in clearance, things like that. So this is more useful. So in this case, we have the tables, and we can create a rule to avoid collisions with the tables or try to make the way going on the middle. Now with the COVID things, it's possible to create exit entries and exit circulation paths. So these kind of things can be improved. Okay, new features on walls. There was always complaints that we want better walls, better walls. Okay, yes. In 2020, we start with ellipse walls. Okay, was an improvement. It was easy to use, people like it, but now the slanted walls. Everybody wants slanted walls. So we bring slanted walls in 2021. So it means that we can create a wall and say it's slanted, or later we can change the property and say it's slanted. Once it's slanted, we can define the angles, the cross-section angles, from vertical to instance perimeters, vertical slanted, and so on. And the host elements may be vertical or slanted. So theoretically, I'll put doors vertical, but openings can be slanted, makes no problem, and they're going to react. Windows can be slanted because they make more sense. And now we work with the tapered walls. So this is an improvement. I think it's very useful and people are going to like it. So tapered walls is not only we can act on the interior and exterior angle of the wall. So we had the new properties on the wall. We need to change the part of the wall that we say we want to be variable. And then we can define exterior angle and interior angle. And when we do that, we're going to get a wall with these kind of properties. And tapered wall, it's a little different of the slanted, of course, because we are not changing the axis angle, but the internal and external angle. So different usage, but they both valid. And then when we apply the equipments, the openings, we can also choose the same kind of way if they are aligned with interior or exterior walls. So they work well in section. They're going to showcase the section. And don't forget, it's like in the floors. If I had layers in the wall, I can add a layer that is tapered, and I can add the other that is constant, which is great for the finishing of the walls. A new feature when we work with slanted walls that was only possible in 2022 was to edit the profile of tapered walls. So now when we do edit profile, it can recognize even in a slanted wall. So as we can see, I can play with this and do the cuts that I need for editing the profile of tapered walls. Okay. What we have new in 2022, we specify a little more properties here, specify sloping angles for interior and exterior surface, override the type slope properties and edit profile. Okay, I've covered these on the videos that I show. Now a new feature in 2022 is the ability to isolate the wall core of the walls in plan views. So it means that we can have a rough design where I don't want to see the finishing. I only want to see the core of the walls. So this is a property that I add on the wall category on the visibility graphics. I can easily go there, select, and choose that I don't want to see the non-core layer of the walls. So I don't have override in terms of graphical, but I had yes or no, turn on, turn off. So in this case, I can easily clean up and adjust the properties of view, and I get a more clear view of my core elements. Okay, yeah, this is the summary. Display all simplified representation of wall into the plan views. New non-core wall layers located between core boundaries remain visible. Yes. So it's all about the properties of the walls, how we define the core boundaries, and that's the important part here. Scheduling improvements. Yes, there was a lot of them. We start in 2021 with the row stripping by colors. So we easily can create a stripping on the schedule. This is helpful because sometimes it's hard for our eyes to see. So we had custom alternating colors. We can customize these, and it's much easier to see the information on the schedules. Then in 2022, we bring new parameter. Work sets can be scheduled. So for instance, I can schedule by different properties. Let me see here. I'm going to select a model, and I can use the work set. So it means that I can filter my views by work set information. This is very important because sometimes we want to understand what elements, if they belong to the right work set, how they are incorporated. So I think it's a great, I like this a lot because it helped me to control a lot my design and the organization of my information to be sure that all the equipments, all the objects are in the right work set. These allow me, for instance, to on material takeoff, on view list, sheet list, and so on. So it's very useful to use. Okay. Another schedule enhancements. What we have more here. So let me see. We had more abilities to split the schedule across sheets. So I had a big schedule. It covers information that is spread along the different sheets. So I can select this. Place it in the initial one, and then I'm able to go to the properties and split between different sheets. So I think it's super useful and allow me a better control of my design. Of course, then I can control which part is in what in each view. Of course, I can stretch the drawing, and it's going to be visible on my plan views. Filter schedules by family and type. So even if the family and type it's there, sometimes we want more potential to filter, and that was a limitation in the past. Now we had the potential to filter by family and type that was not existing in the past. So that way we can very fast filter the information in our model in a different schedule, very specified for types. So share parameters in key schedules, filter schedule by family, and split schedules across sheets. These are the main properties now. Another feature improvement was now the moment we have the schedules in our drawings, when we do report schedule, the system by default go to a CSV file format. Okay, so this is much more easy to manage than the typical one. And these also support drone and total stations file type inputs because they usually export CSV file formats. So it's more aligned with other technologies that we are using in the industry. Is already covered about how to split the sheets, the schedule along across sheets. However, in 2022.1, we delivered new small information here that allows to control with more granularity the way we are doing this. Okay, so we can do copy paste Keynote Legends with filter by sheet and so on. So there are more improvements in the tool. And now we're going to see a lot of general improvements that were done in 2022 and other versions. I always mention here the versions. So for instance, 2021, we bring 47 new units and 24 new parameter categories. In terms of units, sometimes some units are not very clear yet why they are here because we are not used to them. But in help file, there is a good description about the usage of each of the new units. Okay. Another very good tool is the enable view filters in view. Remember that you create a filter and then you need to apply, remove it. Now it's a checkbox, enable, disable. So it's much faster to disable or enable a filter without need to remove it from the view. Okay, so it's a much more advanced tool that we have. It's bring more control. Also, a good improvement in 2021 was the performance of the realistic views. So realistic views are helpful because we don't need to wait for a render. And in 2021, we have changed a lot of the engine of render and the materials. So now the performance is much faster. I don't say it's like the normal shade views, but it's almost the same. Especially in the normal recent computer, it was very, very good. So we had made a lot of improvements here. Also in 2022, we have improved the realistic RPCs. So we have expanded the library with more, a bigger library and more quality RPCs. We start to integrate better our Revit environment with the infrastructure projects. So we are improving the connection between Revit and Civil and InfraWorks. So we start by creating new categories of families and also new model categories for bridge and road categories. So it means that when we import the bridges from Civil or InfraWorks, we start to add categories for the piers, for the decks and other parts of the bridge. And also we had new properties related with alignments. So we had properties to add the prefix and suffix of the alignment, station text, station labels, and start and end. So we are bringing the alignment as an object inside Revit, and we are improving the way we manage these properties inside Revit. Also very useful in 2021.1, reset share coordinates. So we always know it's great to work with share coordinates, but sometimes at a certain point it could be messy. So now we are able to reset it to 0, and then we can apply a new host model that maybe had the proper coordinate system, and we can reuse this to capture the coordinates to our model. So we can reset to 0 and acquire a new coordinates if needed. I think this is super helpful. You always know there is problems with this, so we are bringing more features for this purpose. So as we can hear, reset share coordinates. I think this is a great tool. This simplify a lot. Reset, okay, this is what I've shown in the video, so we can always go back to 000 and then start over again. Notification, okay, yes, that's also important. Sometimes when we do acquire coordinates, there are some questions about what happened, and now we had a new messaging that gives us a better feedback about what is happening here. So for instance, when I acquire new coordinate system, you can identify the coordinate system that I'm using. If I'm working with a model and I duplicate and I want to acquire differently, you're going to see here that I can check this, and we can remove the duplicate instance of the link. So a lot of new dialog box I'm going to show here. So I had here acquire coordinates successful. When we remove the duplicate instance of the link, reset shared coordinates, or remove extra shared systems from the link. So all these are new dialog boxes. Also in 2022, we can now rename the survey point to help avoid confusions. And these support all the templates for all countries that we have in Revit. So it's a new feature that allows to rename the survey points in something more meaningful to our project and not the generic site naming things. Other new features also very interesting. New snapping method. I think this is what a lot of people say, oh, finally. It means snap to the middle of 2 points. It was never available because usually Revit snap to entities. So now we had the option to snap to the middle of 2 points with the S2 shortcut or right-click snap property. And in that case, we define the 2 points and the system assigns the midpoint between the previous 2 points we do it. It can be done when we are sketching, can be done when we are doing object placing or dimensioning. So I think it's a very welcome property. Another very interesting one is the alignment of the line tool that now had all the settings in the proper dialog box when we are doing align, like align multiple, lock, align central lines. And also when we do align elements along an alignment line, for instance, the system can lock automatically. You guys know that many times, for instance, I align a lot of center walls and center windows, and then I want to lock. As I'm doing this on multiple objects, the system by default can lock them. And this is going to be great going to reduce minutes of work in the end of the day, for sure. Also very useful. When we are doing select all instance, we used to be able to set off instance of the object we are clicking. Now we can open automatically a dialog box to choose the instance we want to select all. Okay, so it's give us a step forward in terms of select all instances. As I mentioned before, we have created new categories for equipment and building elements. They are very aligned with the different properties, but mostly with the infrastructure projects. So we see a new category for temporary construction, vertical circulation, signage, hardscape, others like fire protection, food service, and so on. And we see the new ones for stairs, floors, roofs, and some for infrastructure objects like the bridges and so on. So we are expanding the category catalog. I think this is very welcome because it can simplify the way we work. The important one for me was in 2021, we had bring this one, was who never tried to design a sink and had an object that need to cut the top of the sink, and the opening and the voids was a mess. It was not working very well. So now we can create a family that cut geometry when inserted. So it means that we can easily create a sink with the void on the sink, and when we apply the sink, it cuts the top of the object where we're going to place it. So this is done in the family, not like in the past where we need to use many times two families for this purpose. Okay, the new feature, load families from the cloud. So sometimes instead of having all the families in our machine, I can have them in the cloud and I don't need to install them. And when I need, I can easily go looking for them and download to my project the families I need. This was a beta tool. And then in 2022, we put it as a production tool. So it's embedded. And now in 2021, we improve it. So we had more features like Shift Plus to select multiple families on the same category. We can see the number of objects selected. We can check box to include, exclude, and the progress bar to show us that we are downloading the families. So we are in constant improvement of this tool because it's been very well accepted by the users and it's been bringing a lot of value to our project setup. In the meantime, we have also created a new dialog box related with errors when we are loading families. So sometimes it can happen when we are loading families, and many times we don't know why this doesn't work, why this family cannot be loaded. So now we are expanding the report, the explanations in the dialog box. It's always a question that people say, oh, you guys had a lot of warnings, but you don't explain what's happening. So we are improving this. We have improved on the share coordinates, and now we are improving on the load families. And we're going to see in the future in other categories. So let's go forward. What do we have more? Duplicate parameters in family types. So I had a family type, and for some reason I had a parameter. Could be a material, could be identity data, could be even a dimension. I can easily duplicate it. Of course, then if it's a parameter related with the object, I need to relocate it. But it accelerates a lot when I'm creating families and I want to create more and more parameters during the family creation. So it's a useful tool when I'm doing family creations, for sure. Also duplication for sheets. So now I can duplicate the sheet and define if I want to duplicate with detailing, with dependent. And there are some properties that I can decide what's going to be used. So I think it's super useful. It was a long time request, and now finally we have it. A tool for people working with cloud models. As you know, when you had a cloud model, you had a lot of synchronized versions. And sometimes we want to go back to a previous version and open it. In the past, the only way was to save as and be able to delete, let's say, from version 30 to version 20, and then version 20 going to be my new version. Now we are able to go to the cloud models on the version story, select the version file, and be able to detach a copy of it and promote it as a new central file. Okay, so I think this is super useful because sometimes we want to go back to previous versions for any reason, and now we are able to do it embedded in 2022.1 version of Revit. Super helpful. New features, a lot of modified properties that are remembered. So you know when you choose on the modify tool, you had, for instance, a parameter for an offset or for an alignment or for a move, dejoin, all these kind of subsets. The system remembered the last ones, we use it. Okay. Also, you remember the last used materials that we work it. And also we had improved, nothing visual, but we improved the Revit homepage. So, you know, sometimes when we open the homepage and we do loading of models or opening the latest viewed or something like that, there was some delay, especially with the BIM 360. Now we have improved this a lot to get a better experience. Resize dialog box. So it was also a common problem. Sometimes we had a lot of communication tools, dialog boxes, and it's not very easy to see the content. So now more and more dialog boxes had a resize button in the corner, so it's easier to improve the visual here. Okay, but we have more. Shared views. So in 2021, we enabled to share our views to the cloud, not to BIM 360, but through a link that someone can receive a link and view this in a web browser. So this was limited to 3D views in 2021, but it was allow people to review, measure, comment, and mark up the view. Now we expand this in 2022 also to 2D views. So we can not only share 3D views, but also 2D views, and people can mark up and comment these views, and we see this back in Revit, okay? Also, in the terms of cloud, we had improved in 2022 the open cloud model dialog box. So we can save cloud models and we can open cloud models, and now we can see all these on the initial homepage user interface. Tags, some improvements, yes. One very request, rotate with component. Be sure that when I tag this table, you align with the table, that's great. So now the property on the tag, enable rotate with the component is there, I activate it, and when I apply the tag on the object, it's gonna be rotated with the component. If I rotate the component itself, you're gonna adjust the tag also. So that's great. Also, not only rotate tags manually, so we can also other kind of tags. Like for instance, I had this building, the building had a small rotation, and the tag of the room, the object of the room is not considered rotated, so I can apply rotation angle to the tags. So if the building is rotated 3 degrees, I apply 3 degrees to the room tags and they will get aligned. Multi-leader tags. So be able from one tag to add multi-leaders. Great, is there since 2022. And also tag curtain wall mullions. Was always a little difficult or almost impossible. We need to add a lot of workarounds to do it. And now we had a tag that tag the curtain wall mullions. So I think, and now I had also something quick video to show that something for me it's super important. We had objects linked by models, we had tags, and what happened when we unload, we lose the tags, not anymore. So now the system remember where the tags, the elements that were associated with the tags, we keep them there, and we get the information that the tags were orphan. Okay, that makes sense. But if we reload the model again, the tag's gonna be again fed with the information from the model. Okay, so I think this is super important and super helpful on our day-to-day job. I think it's a great improvement. Yeah, this is the link ID. The other part is when we had callouts and for some reason we delete the parent view. So now we can select if we want a status where we can consider no parent view. And in that case, callouts can persist even if we delete the parent view, okay? There are some subsets here, but I don't think we need to go on detail on this. I want to cover all the points in the agenda today. Also very useful since 2022, prefix and suffix for type parameters. So in this case, I had here a parameter, I had alternate dimensions, and I can add a suffix or prefix, like here, approximately 26 feet, field verified. So this is great. This gives us better documentation, improved our documentation design. So I think it's super, super helpful. Category new name shares, yes, more in some dialog box now that are big, we had search. So in special now for categories, we can search for the name, so it's faster to open all the categories and identify exactly the one we are working for. Spot slopes and elevations on ramps. This was something that was not always achieving what we were expecting because it was always depending of a defined point. Now in 2D sections, elevations, plans, we can apply spot slopes, and annotations of the angles of it, right? So the elevation and the slopes. I think this is super, super helpful also. Grids in 3D view was introduced. We start to have levels some versions ago, and now we have also grids. So grids now can be visible in 3D views, and we can choose which view is going to show the grids. So we had the dialog box to select where we're going to have grids visible. One of the most important for me in 2022, phase parameters. So now phase parameters can be viewed in filters. So I had this model had some phases here, and I want to identify some of the objects based by the phase. So when I'm creating a filter, there is a phase filter I can create where, for instance, I can say walls on the created phase. And with that, I can create a color or a property. I choose the phase. I apply a filter color, of course, towards the same. I can do what I want here for the different objects. And in that case, on these, I can override the color. I can apply a new pattern color, and the object gonna appear directly here. Okay, so I think this is super useful and gonna be improving our workflows. Okay, so phase creative, phase demolish. Okay, great. New default color scheme. Oh, everybody remember when you color your plan views? Sometimes we get black and strong colors, very hard to view and to overlap with the annotations. So now the default color schema is more clear, is more bland. Of course, we can customize the colors, but by default, the system starts with a lighter color scheme, a lighter pastel color scheme, okay? So we can still customize, but I think it's a great start. At least for me, every time I started, I need to redo it. Now it's great. MultiSelect. Okay, yes. Now it's possible to improve consistency. When we are working on visibility graphic override, we can manipulate the properties of multiple lines at once and not one by one. So we can select subsequent filters and then we apply different properties at once. So I think it's also very useful. And I make a little run. We are almost in the hour and I'm finished here. So yes, questions, any Q&A questions? I see they are correctly answered. Yes, we'll see your answer is clear for. There is no improvement on linking pipes involves the PNIDs. No, it's still using the same workflow. That's a very correct answer, we'll see. And I don't know. Any other questions that were not answered? Anything on the Q&A? No Q&A questions. Only some on the chat window.
No, we don't have any outstanding questions. Wow, I sure liked a lot of the things you showed. The last thing, the phasing is fantastic.
Yeah, and they bring a lot of improvements.
A lot of value. Yeah. And you know me, I love the concept of being able to reset the shared coordinates.
Yes.
So we can work in the infrastructure world.
Yes, yes.
The rotated tags and also the slope labels. These are great things that you showed.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think they are great. Yeah, great improvements. And don't forget, we have covered a lot of things along the life cycle. So not only in 2022, but even 21, 20, 21.1, there are small improvements that sometimes we forget, and they are great. They bring a lot of value into our day-to-day job. There are more. I have not covered everything, but I think these are the most important, the ones that impact our day-to-day job. Yeah. Thanks a lot for the comments. Okay. If no more questions, we are almost in the top of the hour. Thanks a lot for being here. Sorry for the initial technical glitches.
Fernando, we just have one more poll to launch that we would like to have the answer from everyone.
Let me check if I can launch the final poll. Oh, now it is screens changing. Things that should. So let me check question number 2. Where is the poll launch?
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
So this is the last poll. So it's a poll about if there is which features you like more to start using. PDF workflows, generative design, conceptual design, written houses, advanced wall, new schedule, or others, if any of the others we showcase are important for you too.
Wow, I'm going to have to type in a lot. I loved all the new tag features.
Yeah, they are great.
Nice to see these responses.
Yeah, we are getting good responses. We are getting people participating actively. Yeah, good. We had a lot of people liking the new schedule improvements, which is great.
Scheduling and
yeah, scheduling, and PDF. PDF is also
PDF is awesome.
Yeah,
we remember the old days of tracing.
Yeah. Tracing on the digital table by hand. Okay, and the poll. I'm going to share the results of the poll. You see the results?
There was the question about the recording as well, and it will be shared as soon as we have it with everyone who has registered for the webinar.
Okay. Okay, I think it's all. If there is no other questions, yes. Filtering by type schedule, that's also great, Mikhail. Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, it's a great improvement. I think you're going to appreciate it, because it was always a request. How can I filter by the categories, by the objects? Yeah. Okay, we're going to stop the recording and stop the sharing, and wish everybody the rest of the good day, working or no working if it's the end of your night, of your working day, and see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fernando.
Thanks,
Thank
Fernando.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.